as a retirement advisor, one of the most common questions I get asked is, hey Azul, how do I know when I'm ready to retire? And so in today's video, I'm going to give you the 5 milestones I think we all need to hit before we say, okay, I'm ready to retire. And the first one is to have a plan. Now, as a retirement advisor, you're expecting me to say have a financial plan, and we'll get to that. But this one is to have a life plan, right? When we're working, right, by the time we get to work, we do the commute, we get ready for work, we do our 8, 9, 10 hours at work, we come home. By the time we're done with all of that, we only have maybe 2, 3, at most 4 hours a day during the work week where we have to plan our day. But when we're retired, we've got 24 hours in the day. Okay, we're gonna sleep 8 of that. So we have 16 hours to plan for. But that's a lot of time. Think about it. In one day, you're gonna have as much free time as you would have during your entire work week. And that's a lot of time, so it's important that you have a life plan. What are you planning on doing for fun? How are you going to use that 24 hours? Because 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week can be a lot of time. Now, if you're struggling with this and saying, hey, Azul, I'm not sure what I would do with this time, there's a great book that I want to encourage you to read. And it has an unusual title. It's called Die with Zero. But it talks about having these life buckets, not this bucket list of things that you want to do before you die, but life buckets, things you want to do in your 40s, things you want to do in your 50s, things you want to do in your 60s. For instance, right now, I'm here in Antigua, Guatemala, and I'm here to climb a volcano. And I'm here to climb a volcano because I'm 60 years old and I've never done that. And you know what? I think it's going to be a lot harder. Hopefully, I'll still be able to do it at 70. But it's on my life bucket list to do in my early 60s because I know it's a physically challenging thing, right? So come up with your life buckets. Come up with the things you want to do. So that's milestone number 2. Milestone number 2, the other one was milestone 1. Milestone number 2 is to think about what your identity is. Think about what your purpose is outside of work, particularly for men. As a financial advisor for over 20 years, I have seen men really struggle with this. I've seen women struggle with it as well, but after 20, 30, 40 years of working, it takes up a lot of our time. It's a huge responsibility, and we adopt this identity of who we are at work, and you know what? We're so much more than who we are at work. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, after carrying this burden on our shoulders for so many years, it can be easy to forget who we are outside of work. So working on that identity. Now, if you're struggling with this, first know that you're not alone. It's probably one of the biggest challenges people face as they think about retiring. It can be one of the biggest challenges. And so one thing to think about is, believe it or not, half of all Americans don't use up all of their vacation. And if that's you, I want you to stop. I want you to start using all of your vacation. And when you're on vacation, do things that you think, these are some things I might enjoy doing if I was retired. And if you can, so that's job number 1, is use your vacation. For some of us, we need a little more time to rekindle, to reignite our passions and our interests. They're still there. I want you to know they're still there. I've worked with enough families. I've helped guide hundreds of families into retirement. And I've heard many, many times, Azul, I'd retire, but I don't know what else to do. And then folks do retire and they develop these new interests. And then they say, hey, Azul, why didn't you push me harder to retire sooner? I don't want that to be you. I want you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. A book to help you think about your identity outside of work and how our identity and our purpose has changed throughout our lives is a book by Arthur Brooks, Brooks, and it's called From Strength to Strength. So it's a good thing to to think about your identity and to think about your purpose. Okay, the next one I want you to think about is your health. You know, many of us think, you know, we're going to stay healthy forever, right? I'm here because I want to climb a volcano. And I know, having worked with my clients, that your 60s is the pivotal time, your early 60s, your mid to late 50s, and really up till 68, 70, that's the youth of your senior years. If you work hard on staying healthy, many of us can stay physically fit, can keep our mental and our physical abilities and still do a lot of things. And then after that, genes take over and our body, our vehicles for life start getting old and they need parts replaced and things start breaking down. So thinking about your health and taking the time to invest in your health. So look at your health. Another milestone is look at your health and be candid. You know, the stress of our jobs, even if you have a great job, even if you have a job that you love, even if you have a great boss, and mea culpa, I had all of those things, which is one of the reasons it was hard for me to retire as well. But the reality is every job comes with deliverables, things that we need to get done. We need to get results, and that's stressful. And it may not feel stressful after working for 30 or 40 years, right? We're used to delivering. We're used to having deadlines. We're used to having goals and a team mission that we need to be a part of and help the team achieve those goals. But it's kind of that frog in the boiling water syndrome, right? If you put a frog and just put him in boiling water, that frog's going to jump out. But if you turn up the heat ever so slowly, the frog's not going to notice that the heat is being turned up. And for many of us, that's our situation. And it's our situation when it comes to our health. Our health is deteriorating and the stress is getting harder and harder for us each and every year. I know for me, I hate to say it, but my blood pressure started going up. And it became apparent to me that I could only do so much to stay healthy. And then there were these exterior stressors. And I'm very grateful that I was in a situation where I could retire and take those external stressors away. But think about your health, think about whether or not your job is negatively impacting your health. And candidly, for a lot of us, unfortunately, it is. Okay, the next one, we talked about time. But one of the things that retirees report, the retirees that are not happy in retirement, the ones that struggle the most, are the ones that don't have relationships. And it's important that we have relationships. It's important we don't isolate ourselves. So one of the things we can do, one of the milestones we can start preparing for before we retire, is we can think about these relationships. And I want to encourage you to think about in your life, who were those special people in your life? And are there people that maybe we've drifted away from? And I know it can seem awkward after maybe not chatting with a friend for a decade, or 15 years or 20 years. But you know what? I've done this. I've reached out to some old friends, and 100% of the time they're glad to hear from me. And I've also had friends reach out to me that I haven't talked to in 20 or 30 years, and I'm super happy that they reached out. So, you know, one of the ways we spend our time is with a four-letter word, LOVE. It's love for others. And it's love for our family, but it's also people that we've been around that help us be the best version of ourselves. And you know what? There's something about people that knew us 30 or 40 years ago, that knew us when we were maybe goofballs, and we had some things that, you know, we're still figuring out in our life. And it's good to be reminded of where you are now and have people that have known you for a long, long time. It's therapeutic. So enough said on that. And now I want to circle back to the first point that I talked about, a plan. And I mentioned that people were expecting me to talk about a financial plan. I talked about life, but yes, having a financial plan is key. And early in your life, you know, you could have some benchmarks. You could look at some studies. Fidelity says, you know, hey, you should have this much saved by each year, and here's when you know you're ready to retire. But I think that's too simplistic. When it comes time to actually pull the trigger, when it comes time to actually tell your boss, hey, I am going to be retiring. You don't want to benchmark, you don't want to ballpark it, you want to know. You want as much certainty as possible. And for that, I encourage you to either use a financial advisor, somebody that's a fiduciary to you 100% of the time, or if you're gonna do it yourself, please don't use Excel. I'm an Excel jockey, I'm really good at Excel, but it's just too easy to forget some important stuff. There is some software, financial planning software, that's designed to walk you through the process. The software I like is by Boldin, B-O-L-D-I-N. This video is not sponsored by Boldin, but full disclosure, I am an affiliate. And if you use the link in the description below, you'll be supporting the channel. But Boldin's gonna walk you through and make sure you don't forget anything. So whichever route that you go, having confidence, having certainty, having that plan is really key. And until you get to the point where you can retire, I want you to enjoy the journey. I want you to plan on enjoying the journey, which is why I made this video up here, which are 8 things that I think we all should stop doing in our 50s and 60s in order to enjoy our journey more until we can retire. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye.